So there's this Roblox game blowing up right now called Animal Hospital. And it seems like a normal horror game where you treat patients to try to discover anomalies. But there's something far more sinister going on in this place.
And what we found is one of the most disturbing stories in American history.
But before we get there, let's talk about the actual lore about this hospital.
So when you first join the game, you're right outside the animal hospital. You start as an intern, check patients in, scan them in for conditions, and grab the right treatment. And the game is pretty simple on the surface. But you start uncovering the truth about this hospital by talking to the two animals hanging outside in the lobby. The doctors refuse to speak. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Another containment breach in Ward C. That's the 4th this month. And another one says 3 patients vanished from their rooms last week. The doctors won't talk about what's in the basement. So already, before you've treated a single patient, the game is already telling you that animals are missing, something keeps breaking out of containment, and the people running this place are hiding it. So what does this mean? We can find out through the special characters in the game.
And the first one up is Barney. Barney comes in and introduces himself. He doesn't really want to check in or anything. He just comes to you and asks for coffee. And you think nothing of it at first, but he comes back every single shift asking for the same thing for some reason. But then you realize what coffee actually does in this game. It raises your sanity. It keeps you from losing your mind, and it helps you not see the strange creatures looking around the hospital. So it's a super important aspect of the game. And Barney isn't just some random character who likes coffee. He's an animal who figured out exactly what keeps you functional in a place like this, and he keeps on making sure you have it. Then it gets even darker. At some point, Barney gives you a suitcase that says do not open, and the game says it feels heavy, and he doesn't explain what's in it. Later, he comes back and asks to take a picture of him, and this is where you see the truth. He's actually an anomaly. But his lore gets even creepier, as later he actually asks to borrow a scalpel and takes the suitcase at the same time. The game never tells you what's inside or what the scalpel is for, but our guess is that there's a body inside and he's trying to dissect it. Yeah, this guy's definitely not normal.
And he actually asks you to help hide him, and when you do, the police show up looking for Barney. They show you the exact photo you were asked to take of him earlier, and when you turn around, Barney's behind the counter holding a knife. And he says, "I will kill you if you say a word. I will kill you, friend." So now you have a choice. Turn him in or protect him. And if you turn him in, the officer gets hurt and Barney escapes anyways. You get nothing. But if you protect him, Barney gives you a free coffee maker, which is super helpful in this game. The game literally rewards you for helping a serial killer, and that detail matters more than it seems. But we'll come back to that.
Because Barney isn't working alone. He's working with the doctor. This is Dr. Harlow. And at first, he seems completely trustworthy. He gives you advice. He unlocks new features for you each shift. He seems like he's on your side. So surely he's a good guy, right? Wrong. Remember that animal in the lobby who said they're not even trying to hide it anymore? Look around. If you actually look up in the window of the hospital, Dr. Harlow's standing right there, staring directly at you. And he doesn't have his normal innocent looking eyes. He has the eyes of an anomaly. Dr. Harlow is actually an anomaly. And the game isn't even trying to hide it, because if you look at the thumbnail, he's holding a knife over an innocent looking bunny. Dr. Harlow and everyone in this hospital is actually a bad guy.
So what's actually going on here? Well, we believe that you're not treating the patients at all. You are the anomaly. You are spreading the anomaly disease, and you are the bad guys in the game. And more information about this hospital comes from the other characters. Ron from accounting shows up pretty frequently, and he drops a lot of interesting information. He's surprised that you're still alive. He starts to tell you things and then stops himself. You ever wonder why they keep hiring new people? Never mind. But he finally breaks when he says this. You want to know a secret? They're testing something in here. The patients, they're not sick. They're infected. And he also mentions that the corporation that owns this hospital hides the discharge log. So clearly he's trying to hide something that the hospital is doing, and he knows what's going on. But then there's this.
That rat was in my office once. Chewed through some experiment reports I wasn't supposed to see. Did me a favor, honestly. And that rat who saw the secret experimentation reports and knows the truth about this hospital is Rathu. Rathu shows up pretty early and explains how being small has its advantages. He hears things, sees things, and tells you straight up, don't trust anyone at this hospital. Which makes sense because he knows we're working with people like Dr. Harlow, who clearly isn't a good person anymore. And in the recent update, he says, the people with suitcases are hiding secrets. Something evil is going on here. Stay alert. And who has those suitcases in this game? Dr. Harlow, Barney, and Ron from accounting. Every single person who's supposed to help us, but is secretly hiding a dark persona. Before Rathu leaves, he tells you something personal. He had a twin sister named Ratina, smart one in the family. She worked for Animal Corporation, which is the whole government of this game. And then one day, she just vanished. No note, no goodbye, Nothing. He's been looking for her ever since. And he leaves you a key that says, took this key from the dock.
We can then go to one of the posters in the game and we see an option that says break poster, which reveals a safe where we can use the key we just got from Rathu. And inside there's 3 things. Dr. Harlow's top secret suitcase, a note that says the experiment was a success, the shadow now sees everything, and a photograph of Retina. So now we know for certain this hospital is running experiments. Animals are going missing. The patients aren't sick, they're infected. And whatever they did in that basement, in that east wing, behind those deleted security logs, it worked. The experiment was a success. Now here's where this stops being just a game, because everything we just described happened in real life, and it's much worse than you think.
There's a place called the Allen Memorial Institute, a psychiatric hospital inside a mansion in Montreal, Canada. And the doctor running it, Dr. Ewan Cameron, was the most respected psychiatrist in the world, being the president of 3 different psychiatry organizations. So no one would ever question him, and people came to him all over the world to get treated for relatively normal conditions. But what Cameron did to them was one of the most disturbing things that has ever happened inside a hospital. People came in with depression, with anxiety, and Cameron, who was secretly funded by the CIA, would put them into drug-induced sleep for weeks, sometimes even months. And while they were unconscious, he would shock their brains with electricity up to 3 times a day. His goal was to completely wipe out who they were, erase their entire personality. And to do this, he would play recorded audio messages in their rooms on a loop for up to 16 hours a day. The same messages repeated hundreds of thousands of times, and he did this to delete whoever the patient was and build someone new. The CIA used Cameron to complete war crimes to other people, and Cameron's experiments left people scarred for life.
A 19-year-old girl named Gail Kastner went in with depression, and after treatment, she left speaking like a baby, sucking her thumb without a single childhood memory. A woman named Lana Ponting was tied up, fed drugs, and had doctors observing her reactions while she called out for her father. She could not remember the 2 years after she left that building, and one woman was even pregnant when Cameron experimented on her. Her son Lloyd is 60 years old now and still fighting to be recognized as a victim. And when it all eventually came out in 1973, the CIA ordered every single file to be destroyed. Staff burned 11 years of evidence in days. The patients who received compensations had to sign agreements to stay quiet. Cameron was never charged, and he died before any of it became public, and the institution never admitted legal responsibility.
Now let's get back to Animal Hospital. Patients walked into the Allen Memorial Institute the same way they walked into Animal Hospital, trusting the place and trusting the doctor, expecting to be helped. And remember, Ron from accounting told you the patients aren't sick, they're infected, much like how Cameron was infecting his victims with his terrible experiments. And if you take a look at one of the anomalies, which has 3 eyes, you can still see the real animal of what it was before it became an anomaly if you look closely into one of its eyes. Compare that to Gail Kastner, who walked in as a 19-year-old girl and walked out as someone unrecognizable. The original person is still in there somewhere underneath, just like the anomaly in the game.
Now let's take a look at Dr. Harlow. He looks trustworthy and he seems like he's on your side. But this is exactly what Cameron was. Everyone trusted him to treat their illnesses, but he was secretly performing experiments on them, just like the shadow that he mentioned in his suitcase. So what about Barney? He comes in every shift asking for coffee because it's the only thing keeping him sane in this place. The staff at the Allen Memorial Institute had to find a way to keep showing up every day, to keep administering the shocks and the supposed treatments. They built coping mechanisms just to function inside the building, like how Barney keeps on asking for coffee.
Ron also said that the Animal Corporation deletes the logs and hides the footage, and just like their corporation, the CIA burned every secret file relating to Cameron in 1973. And finally, going back to Dr. Harlow's suitcase that said that the experiment was a success, Cameron's research was somehow published in peer-reviewed journals, even though he was performing such terrible experiments. The CIA funded it because it was working, exactly how the Animal Corporation is funding Dr. Harlow.
Now the Animal Hospital Wiki says not much is currently known about the anomalies, where they come from, how the patients turn into one, and this was the exact same at the Allen Memorial Institute. Nobody knew either. People came in with anxiety and left unrecognizable. Files burned, patients silenced, and the building is still standing today. Ron told you the patients weren't sick, they were infected. Rathu told you do not trust anyone, and the note said that the experiment was a success. Animal Hospital is one of the most popular games on Roblox right now, and most of the players playing it have no idea that the world that they're in, where patients walk in looking for help and come out as something else, where the doctor is the most trusted figure in the room, already happened.
So let us know your theories in the comments. And if you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe and comment what you want next.
See ya.